Hi, and thank you for joining me in my first ever video on YouTube. My name is Clint, and this is my small corner where I paint 3D printed models. And I will be doing videos where I will show you how I paint them, showing you some step-by-step processes, how to achieve a certain type of effect, and learn together how we can improve on our skills and make better paintings. Coming up for my first video, I'm going to paint Lara Croft. She's designed by Abe 3D. Me myself, I'm a huge fan of the series. I've been playing the game since 1995 or 1996 when it first came out on the Sega Saturn, and yes, since then I've been a fan ever since, and I think it would be fitting for me for my first model to be Lara Croft. So I'm going to start the model with black primer, and after that I'm going to do a zenithal highlight. As you can see, spray the white just to highlight the areas of the model. So here I'm laying down some transparent colors. You can call this the pinkle. I learned this technique from Ground Affected. He does a lot of great videos as well, and you can learn something from it as well. So as you can see here, I'm going to put the first layer of purple, and on the darker areas I'm going to hit it with a transparent red color. And when it's done, you should have something like this. So for our first skin base layer, I'm going to put some Flat Flesh by Vallejo, and I will thin it down a bit with water so it will not cover entirely the layer underneath. Also, mainly I work with Vallejo and Green Stuff World colors. And once it's done, you should have something like this. Now this is where I was trying to kind of experiment with skin tones, so I'm going to start with speckling. So how to achieve this? So you just need to lower your pressure, your PSI on your air compressor. You need to lower it down so when you start pressing on your airbrush, nothing will come out but just tiny speckles of paint. So for speckling, I went with yellow, red, green, a little bit of blue, purple and brown, and a little bit of red. Once you've done with the speckling, you should have something close to this. It looks a mess, I know, but it will all be sorted. So here, as you see, I'm going to paint some veins on the model, so when we lay the top layers on top of it, it will become more transparent and simulate more the effect of skin. And this should be the look, something like this. So I'm going to mist some Flat Flesh, just thin the paint down and mist it all over the body. Something that will happen a lot. I'm not perfect, as I said in the beginning, I'm still learning through this stuff. You will drop paint, you will mess up, just brush it off and keep going again. As you see, I just dropped some of the paint. So we're going to move to the washes. It's important before you do this step, seal your work with a clear varnish. So what a wash is, it's a very thinned down color. As you see, the consistency is very transparent. And dab it all over the skin, and don't let any colors pool into the recess. Repeat this step a few times, and as you see, you will start seeing light red tint all over the model. Also now I'm going with the blue wash. It's important for the blue wash, just put a very tiny amount, and you have to work fast here because the blue will bite into the varnish very quickly and it will ruin it. So we do the washes to simulate the blood vessels underneath the skin. As you know, we are not just one color on the face. We have some red areas, blue areas, even orange areas. It depends on the skin type of the person. Now we're going for yellow. This is to bring back some of the color back into the skin. So as you see, for the backpack, I didn't go with the traditional brown backpack. I went into a mix of classic Lara and from the movie. It's your model. Feel free to paint it how you like it. So in the middle part of the backpack, that's going to be a metal color. So I'm just going to go around it with a black acrylic marker. Doesn't have to be a marker, you can use just a brush, but these are a time saver, especially if you have shaky hands. It's very good for stability as well. And after that dries up, I'm going through the metal parts with silver. So here I'm going to use nuln oil. So for this part, I decided to go with black ink because it has this shiny look to it, and it's easier to give that leather effect. So moving on to the hair, I'm gonna base color it with brown, and after that I'm going to do dry brushing with a reddish color. Start removing the excess paint from the brush. It's important that you almost remove 95% of the paint and lightly brush it off. Also, this will add a lot of detail, and it will make it look like you spent hours working on it when it was just like 5 minutes. So after this is done, we're going to do some nuln oil. This is so we can blend all the colors together, and it will have a darker recesses area and make it look a bit more realistic. So here, as you see, it's a very diluted color. It looks bad, but once it's dried, it will have that nice leathery effect. Check it out. And here it is. Some colors, once they dry, they may have a different look to them. It all goes down to what base primer you used in the beginning. Going back with the black ink for the leather parts. And here for the detailing parts, I'm just going to use the silver pen. So for the base, I'm just using 3 types of colors. As you see here, I'm going to use the black and the brown to make it as a dark brown. Thin it down and start layering it down the piece. It doesn't have to be accurate, you can just freely paint around everywhere. So once dried, we're going to do back with dry brushing. This is to highlight the high points of the part. As for the moss, I went with a green dark base. After that, I diluted a bit of highlighted green. After that, I just went with a bit of a green ink. So finish everything off with the nuln oil, and you can, as you see, it will all come together. Okay, on to the face. So we are going to start with the eyebrows. So this is the part where you need to be extra still. if you have shaky hands, like I do, just hold your hands against the other piece and go slow as much as you can, and don't rush this part, because we need to be accurate as much as possible. In case you screw up, just grab a toothpick, put it in some water and just start removing the mistake that you did. And that's why we always seal our work. God knows how much I was holding my breath in this part, because I mean, it's not easy to paint when you have her sunglasses in front of her face. So for the eyes, we're just going to paint it all in black so we can cover up the eyelashes as well. So I'm using a whitish grey for the eyes. So if you screw up in this part, like I did, I'm not sure if you can see it, you can just go back with the black and cover up the mistakes where you made them. So the most important part of a model is always the eyes. You have to make sure that the eyeballs are aligned, otherwise it will not look so good. If it helps, you can just mark it down with a pencil and then you can just layer on top of it. What I would suggest is always start with the black, and then inside the black you start layering down the iris of the eyes, and then in the middle you can just retouch the black part of the pupil. And also take your time, don't rush, never rush. I learned it the hard way. So for the sunglasses I went with a black base, then after it dries I go and start layering down the silver color. And once that dries, I went in and started layering red ink. Okay, finally the skin is all done. Now we can move to paint the rest parts of the body. It's pretty straightforward. Always start with the base colors and then you start adding the effects. So now we're going to start adding the dirt effect. You can choose not to do it, you can leave your model in a clean state, but I decided to go this way. So for this step you can either grab a small sponge or a piece of steel wool, just dab it into the brown, black, whatever you decide to do, then dab it in on a tissue just to remove the excess and start putting it on the model. Leave it for a few seconds, then with a beauty sponge just dab it again so you can remove the excess. In this step we just want to stain it and not leave a very dark color on it. So for this effect it's rinse and repeat, dab and keep dabbing until you start getting the desired effect. So for that extra detail I decided to do a French tip on her nails, as one of my favorite YouTubers is Leona's Workshop, the Resin Queen, and she always put these small details into her kits and they are so beautifully made. I suggest you go and have a look, and doing this it will add a bit more detail to your model as well. So for this part of the wound I went with a dark red and then I added some black so I can simulate that dried blood, if you will. And after that I go with this technical color by Citadel. It's called Blood for the Blood God. It's a very glossy finish color, and it's a very good way to simulate injuries and wounds, as you can see. Okay, everything is finished. Now we're going to move to pastel shading. So pastel shading is an easier way to do it instead of doing with an airbrush. It gives you much more control. What you need to do before attempting the step, always seal your model and then start applying the pastels. This technique is very good, so you can add blush to your model for her face to add those rosy cheeks. You can do it to simulate even the wounds where it's like bruises, because when you are bruised you have like patches of purple, yellow. You can use that to simulate it with it. You can do it with an airbrush, but with pastels it's easier to do. So I learned about this technique when I was watching Leona's workshop. She uses it for her anime kits. And apparently not everybody uses this technique, and it's a very easy way, and it gives you much more control than doing it with an airbrush. So if you're still not there with the shading with an airbrush, I'd recommend you do this. And once you finish with the pastel shading, seal your model for one last time, and then we can move to the beauty shots. So thank you for joining me in this episode of me painting Lara Croft. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something from it. If you have any question, feel free to drop a comment down below, and I would appreciate if you subscribe and like the video. Also, you can follow me on my other socials, be it Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, X, you name it. I will drop all the links down in the description. So I have other videos lining up soon, hopefully, where I will be doing Rani the Witch from the Elden Ring, and yeah, I have 2 Sailor Moon figures, and one as a Superman Henry Cavill, but with a different twist. So I hope you stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care!